Any parent knows raising a child is no walk in the park. But when people of colour in America teach their kids about respect, it's a lesson often tinged with fear.
Be respectful at all times, because all it takes is a phone call for police to be there and a situation to be escalated. And I think that's sad.
A month before Bonita Buck entered the world, her mother Twana had an altercation with police that changed her forever.
I was aggressively grabbed and aggressively spoken to while I was 8 months pregnant. And it was really a shock and a wake-up call for me.
She wasn't physically injured, but she's convinced it wouldn't have happened if her skin colour was a lighter shade.
There are a lot of people who wake up and they don't have a care in the world. They don't really have to worry, you know? I want her to experience that feeling of just being safe.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
African American children are front of mind for many of those fighting for equal justice in the turbulent wake of George Floyd's death.
Y'all don't understand what it feels like as a black mom to release your child out into this world. It's scary.
Claiborne Carson was one of those beaten by police and jailed during his generation's fight for justice in the 60s. Now a civil rights historian, he hasn't given up.
I was in Los Angeles when the city exploded in 1965, so that was more than 50 years ago. We remember what happened after Rodney King was beaten by police and the city exploded again, and that was over almost 30 years ago. So this is not new.
He says history keeps repeating because the conversations black parents have to have with their children are repeating as well.
You don't have to give the warning to a white child that a policeman may kill you. The person who is supposed to protect you may kill you.
Since the days of Martin Luther King, there has been some progress in the black community, particularly when it comes to education. But on many lead indicators, there's still huge disparity, and none more so than criminal justice. Since the late 60s, the percentage of African Americans behind bars has almost tripled, with black Americans locked up at 5 times the rate of white Americans. Tracy Brame spent her early career defending young men of colour in court. Now she watches with some trepidation as her own son comes of age.
His shoulders are broadening. He's now taller than me, and he has a little fuzz right here. And I'm like, oh my God, he looks like a young man, which both makes me incredibly proud, but makes me more and more afraid, kind of by the year, that he's going to have an interaction, that ends badly.
Of course, many black-white interactions are positive. For best friends Maxwell and Finnegan, 3 months quarantined together in a country house in upstate New York was as good as it gets. Now they're catching up via video link.
Who wants to drive the truck?
Last year, a viral video of the inseparable duo touched people around the world, and it's making the rounds again.
People started reaching out, and we've seen a lot of things that said, wow, this is still relevant, and it's more relevant, I think, than it was before.
The need for change is something Maxwell's dad is now acutely aware of.
It's scary, and Alex and I will do all we can to protect him, but we can't protect him when he's not with us.
Nobody really knows who's next. It could really be any one of us. That's a scary feeling. That's way more scarier than getting out and protesting today.
Day by day, the crowds and the sense of purpose are growing, and the people involved seem determined to close the circle so the next generation doesn't have to.
We'll be back tomorrow and the next day and the next day as they were chanting every single day until the change is made.
David Lipson, ABC News, Washington.